The church smelled faintly of roses and candle wax, but to Amelia Hart, the scent was laced with humiliation. She stood at the altar, clutching the small bouquet of white lilies she had picked out weeks ago, her eyes scanning the church doors for the man who would never walk through them. Guests shifted uncomfortably in their seats, the whispers growing louder with every passing second. Her mother dabbed at her eyes with a trembling handkerchief, while her father's jaw tightened in silent rage. After 30 agonizing minutes, the truth became impossible to deny: he wasn't coming. Outside, the sky had opened into a steady drizzle, soaking Amelia's dress until it clung coldly to her skin. She walked out of the church alone, her veil trailing behind her like a ghost of the life she had dreamed of. Her apartment was gone, sold to help cover the wedding's mounting expenses, and her bank account was nearly empty. She had no destination, only a hollow ache in her chest. The city's streets were merciless. Horns blared, neon lights flickered, and strangers hurried past without a glance. Her hair stuck to her cheeks as the rain ran down her face, though she couldn't tell if it was water or tears. She found herself in front of a towering glass building, its entrance lit like a beacon in the storm. Desperate for shelter, she stepped inside, shivering in the marble lobby. Somewhere high above, behind tinted windows, a man watched her. His gaze was sharp, his expression unreadable. With a subtle gesture, he signaled for someone to keep an eye on her. He didn't know her name yet, but in that moment, billionaire Damian Cole decided that this woman's story, and her future, were about to collide violently with his own. Friends, if this story touches your heart, please like this video, share it with someone who believes in second chances, and subscribe to Kindness Speaks for more heartfelt tales. The rain had left Amelia's hair clinging to her face, the once elegant waves now tangled and heavy. She sat on the edge of the sleek leather sofa in the corner of the skyscraper's private lounge, clutching the towel she'd been handed by a sharply dressed assistant. Her eyes darted around the space, walls of glass revealing the storm outside, dark wood shelves lined with expensive books, and a faint aroma of leather and sandalwood lingering in the air. She didn't belong here, and she knew it. A soft click of the door announced his arrival. Damian Cole entered with the quiet confidence of a man used to owning every room he stepped into. Tall, impeccably tailored in a charcoal suit, his presence filled the space effortlessly. His gaze swept over her, taking in her soaked dress, reddened eyes, and trembling hands, but there was no pity in his expression, only a cool curiosity. "You're Amelia Hart," he said, not as a question but a fact. She blinked, startled. "How do you?" "I know things," he interrupted smoothly, taking a seat opposite her. "And I know that as of 2 hours ago, you were left at the altar. You have no home, no money, and no plan." The words stung because they were true. She tightened her grip on the towel. "If you called me here just to humiliate me—" "I didn't," he cut in, leaning forward slightly. "I called you here to offer you something. I need a woman, and you need a home. Marry me." Amelia stared at him, momentarily convinced she'd misheard. "You're joking." His expression remained unchanged. "I don't joke about business. My father's company bylaws state I must be married within the month to retain control. I don't want love, Miss Hart. I want an arrangement. You'll have security, stability, and anything you need, so long as you play the part." Her laugh was bitter. "So you want me to be your contract bride?" He didn't flinch. "I want you to be the woman who stands beside me when the world is watching." And despite every instinct screaming at her to walk away, something in his steady gaze made her pause. The ink on their marriage license had barely dried when Amelia found herself swept into a whirlwind she wasn't prepared for. Designer gowns were delivered daily to the penthouse, stylists flitted around her like bees, and her name began appearing in society columns she'd never read before. Damian's world was one of precision and performance, every smile rehearsed, every handshake calculated, every moment staged for an audience she didn't understand. The first gala came only a week after the arrangement was sealed. Amelia stood at the top of the marble staircase in a deep sapphire gown, her hair twisted into an elegant chignon. She could feel the weight of 100 eyes as she descended on Damian's arm. Crystal chandeliers glittered overhead, the air thick with perfume and the clink of champagne flutes. Laughter floated through the room, though much of it was laced with judgment. It didn't take long for the whispers to reach her. "That's her, the charity bride," one woman murmured behind a jeweled fan. Another smirked. "A pretty face, but she'll never last." The words pricked like thorns, but Amelia kept her chin high. Then came her. Vanessa Sterling, Damian's ex, and the embodiment of effortless sophistication. Draped in silver silk, she glided toward Amelia with the grace of a predator. "Welcome to the circle," she purred, eyes flicking over Amelia's dress with thinly veiled disdain. "I suppose we all have our stepping stones." The remark hit its mark, but before Amelia could respond, Damian's hand at her back urged her forward toward another cluster of guests. He said nothing, his face the mask of a man immune to gossip. Later that night, back in the quiet of the penthouse, Amelia faced him in the dimly lit living room. "You don't care what they say, do you? You don't care about me at all. I'm just your contract." He paused, looking at her with an unreadable expression. And yet, his voice was low, almost reluctant. "I can't stop caring." It was the first crack in his armor, and Amelia wasn't sure whether to fear it, or to hope. The call came late at night. Damian had collapsed during a tense business negotiation in another city, and his assistant's voice on the phone was tight with urgency. Amelia didn't hesitate. She was on the first flight out, her heart pounding with worry that surprised even herself. When she arrived at the hotel suite, she found him pale and feverish, his usually immaculate suit discarded for a rumpled shirt clinging with sweat. The sight of him like this, vulnerable, stripped of the cold control he wore like armor, made her chest ache. She knelt beside the bed, pressing a cool cloth to his forehead. His eyelids fluttered, and he muttered her name in a voice so weak it didn't sound like him at all. Hours passed as she stayed by his side, coaxing him to drink water, adjusting the blankets when he shivered. It was then that Reynolds, his longtime driver, quietly entered with a tray of soup. In the hushed glow of the bedside lamp, he spoke softly to Amelia. "He's been running himself into the ground for years. He came from nothing, you know. Barely had food on the table growing up. He's fought for every inch he's gained, but it cost him more than anyone realizes." As Damian drifted in and out of restless sleep, fragments of his past spilled from his lips. Words about nights spent hungry, about betrayal by those he trusted, about building walls so high no one could hurt him again. Then came the words that rooted themselves in her heart. "I was never looking for a wife. I was looking for someone who wouldn't leave." Amelia's hand tightened around his. She realized then that beneath the ruthless billionaire's facade was a man haunted by abandonment, carrying wounds no wealth could heal. And in that quiet moment, she made a silent promise, not for the sake of their arrangement, but for the man himself. By the time dawn's pale light filtered through the curtains, his fever had broken. He woke to find her still there, her head resting on the edge of the bed, their hands still entwined. For the first time, Damian didn't pull away. The day of the board meeting arrived with a tension that seemed to hang in the very air of the skyscraper. Amelia had dressed with care, choosing a tailored cream suit that gave her both elegance and quiet authority. She wasn't here to be arm candy. She was here to stand beside Damian, not as a contractual obligation, but as his partner. The conference room was a cold arena of polished mahogany and sharper words. Around the table sat the board members, powerful men and women with eyes that measured worth in profit margins and influence. At the head of the table, Damian looked every inch the formidable CEO, but Amelia saw the faint shadow of exhaustion in his eyes. The meeting began, and whispers swirled about whether Damian's marriage was nothing more than a strategic stunt. When one board member slyly questioned Amelia's qualifications to stand at Damian's side, she rose from her chair. Her voice was steady, each word deliberate. She spoke of loyalty, the kind that stands in the rain when everyone else walks away. She spoke of trust, how it is earned not in public victories but in private moments of weakness. She told them that Damian Cole was not just a man who could lead a company, he was a man who had built himself from the ground up, and that strength was forged in struggle, not born in privilege. By the time she sat down, there was a palpable shift in the room. One by one, the board members voiced their support. Damian had won, not just because of corporate strategy, but because someone had fought for him in a way no one else ever had. That night, back in the soft glow of the penthouse balcony, the city sprawled like a sea of stars beneath them. Damian took Amelia's hands, his voice low but certain. "The contract is over, Amelia, but I don't want this to end." Her answer came not in words but in the way she leaned into his kiss, feeling the truth in every heartbeat. This time, there were no terms, no conditions, only the beginning of a marriage that was finally real. If this story moved you, please share it, leave your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to Kindness Speaks for more stories of love, redemption, and hope.